Welcome back to 28storms.com. I'm Jason Moreland, and this is your afternoon weather update for January 27th, 2011. Taking a quick look at the National Water Vapor image, we still have this positively tilted trough that's dominating much of the eastern United States. You may also notice the nor'easter that began around Virginia in this loop, and then it continued northeast along the coast, and it has dumped insane levels of snow. I've seen totals as high as 18 inches in Fairfield County, Connecticut, and we've seen 15, 18 inches across many areas. So this was one heck of a storm system. Thankfully, it's moving out, and now it's beginning to head into Atlantic Canada, and we're going to get a bit of a break, although there's a couple clipper systems that are going to come through the northeast and produce 2 to 4 inches of snow, but that's a far cry from what we've been dealing with for the past 24 hours. On this satellite image, you'll also notice that in the eastern Pacific, there's still a cutoff upper level low, and some of the models are showing this system beginning to finally move eastward. Thankfully, this system isn't going to produce a major storm system this time around, but we'll show that. And then there's a second storm system right behind it. So we're going to get right on into the forecast models. Alright, so here's a look at the latest 12Z GFS. And as we see, there's still this positively tilted trough across much of the east. And we have the cutoff flow beginning to enter Baja California from the eastern Pacific. So as we move into time, you'll see that the positively tilted trough stays for the most part, although it does lift somewhat. And that trough begins to swing from the eastern Pacific into northern Mexico and southern Texas, and this is by late Saturday night. And by 66 hours, we have a very weak shortwave impulse over southern Texas near Austin. And if we look at the surface, as we go back to 66 hours, you'll see that there is, as a result, a very weak surface low near the Dallas area, with some shower activity breaking out along the coastline between Texas and Louisiana, and this is by midnight Sunday. So, as a result of that shortwave impulse coming through Texas, we do have a a surface low begin to develop, and it'll continue eastward and really not do a whole lot. This is by Monday morning at 6 a.m. Central Time, and there's really not much surface reflection anymore. And if we go back and look at the 500 millibar analysis, as we speed it up to 96 hours, let me get it for you guys. At 96 hours, that system really falls apart. It was once over Texas, and now it's moving off the east coast, and there's barely any 500 millibar reflection. So that storm system isn't going to do a whole lot, and it's really going to be shunted off the coast by this polar vortex over Canada, and we're beginning to move into a positive NAO. So therefore, it's going to be pretty hard for that system to swing up the coast, and it's just not going to happen. But if you notice out west, there's another storm system diving down out of the Pacific Northwest, and once again, it's moving down into California, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. And over time, this low will begin, well, not quite a low, but the shortwave trough will begin to spread eastward. And this is by Wednesday morning. We have this very broad trough over the central United States, and if we go back to the surface picture, let's go ahead to 144 hours. We have yet another surface low begin to form, and once again we have a really messy setup now beginning to develop, at least according to this model. And again, this is Wednesday morning, and we have a 1012 millibar surface low beginning to develop over southern Louisiana and Mississippi. And if you look to the north, there is precipitation breaking out even north of the warm front, and this looks like an icy possible setup along with some snow on the backside. And this is going to be a forecaster's nightmare if these models begin to verify, because there could be the threat of snow, ice, and some thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast. Now, in terms of any possible severe weather, the Storm Prediction Center's 4 to 8 day outlook did mention that at least a possibility for some severe storms next week along the Gulf Coast. But there's a couple key ingredients that would be needed. Well, first of all, the surface low that again we're talking about on the GFS is being shown as coming across right along the Gulf Coast. If you want severe weather along the southern states, you want this surface low to be further north. That way more areas can get into the warm sector and the atmosphere can destabilize as we get more moisture and heat being pumped into the southeast states. As it looks right now, though, the GFS is showing the low just traversing along the northern Gulf Coast, not too far inland, and the European is in general agreement with that as well. And not only that, but the models still only show it being relatively weak. Again, this is another 1012 millibar surface low, so you would prefer that the low would be a little bit deeper than that. And furthermore, this is a map of your lifted index values, and there's really not that much instability or lift across the Gulf Coast states. It's mostly confined down into the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico, and we'll just have to see if this becomes any type of severe weather event once again for Florida, because as you know, a couple days ago we had 5 reported tornadoes down there. As it stands right now, it doesn't look like it's as potent of a storm system in terms of Florida severe weather, but again, this is about a week out from now, so things can change quite a bit. Now, beyond day 6, people in the mid-Atlantic and northeast states may be wondering what the chances are of that second system coming up the coast and producing another storm system. It's really far out, it's really hard to tell this far out, but based on the trough orientation on the GFS, this trough is very broad. I would not be surprised if this one tried to stay just off the coastline, but we have about 6 to 7 days to watch that part, so I'm not terribly concerned about that storm system just yet. The focus is on the weekend pulse coming through in a few days towards Sunday and Monday for the Gulf Coast states, followed by the stronger system on Tuesday and Wednesday. As a little bonus segment today, it may be off-season in terms of hurricane season for us in the Atlantic Basin, but down in the South Pacific, it's still deep into the cyclone season down there, and it's been very active for the past week. And in fact, we're still watching 2 tropical cyclones. One is just north of Western Australia. It's called Tropical Cyclone 10S, or Tropical Cyclone Bianca. And then we have a more potent tropical cyclone that's north of New Zealand, and it's called Tropical Cyclone Wilma. Thankfully, both of these tropical cyclones are really not forecast to significantly affect anyone. First, we have Tropical Cyclone Bianca, and it's forecast to remain just off the coast until it gets further down near Perth. And of course, water temperatures are much cooler down there, and this thing is going to completely fall apart before it hits any type of land masses. And then the second storm system is Tropical Cyclone Wilma, and it's moving away from some of the smaller South Pacific islands, and that's a really good thing because this would be considered a major hurricane if it were in the Atlantic at about 115 knots right now. And it will continue moving off to the southeast, and it will begin to bring shower activity and gusty winds to the northern half of New Zealand, but it's going to completely fall apart compared to what it is right now as a major hurricane, and at the very most it will affect them as a transitioning tropical storm as it begins to acquire extratropical characteristics. So, with all that being said, I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and we'll continue to try to update the website as much as possible over the next week regarding the 2 upcoming storm systems for the southern states and eastern half of the nation. And every so often we'll periodically throw in some information about El Nino and La Nina, along with some global tropical cyclone activity. And then come springtime season, we're going to have more on severe weather action across the plains and southeast United States. And then finally come hurricane season, we're going to try to update these videos every single day with tropical weather outlooks and discussions. So, thanks again for checking out 28storms.com. Check again soon for future updates.